this bike in is when we sold all the surface bikes, which I will have more in at the end of this month, is they were bare bones. They didn't have any accessories. And this one, this whole line has integrated headlights, integrated taillights. It has a rear mount rack, which is what most customers were adding on to their surface e-bikes. And another big feature that I really enjoy on this bike is a lot of the comfort features. So the comfort feature would be this suspension here, kind of designed for the sidewalk transitions, potholes, big cracks, a little bit of seat suspension, rear mount rack, and then the adjustable toolless. You don't need a tool. Handlebar and stem.
Oh, cool.
So this was a big feature, a big comfort feature for different styles of riding. Some people want their brake levers. There's a lot of different small things that can really make or break a long ride. Where if your forearm tendon is getting sore here from braking, that means your handlebars, your brake levers are too far down. So you're having to reach and extend this tendon. So a lot of different features there. Every bike I have except this blue one has a throttle option, so you can use the throttle as well. 5 levels of pedal assist. They top out at 26-ish miles an hour, probably closer to 28 if you're going down a hill. And a lot of times people ask for a range and they want a very specific number. Let's say you have a 300-pound guy that's 6'5", and then you have a 87-pound lady that's 5'3" on the same bike. The ranges are going to be completely different. So what we like to say is 20 to 60 miles on a charge. They take about 6 hours or so from completely dead to completely full. And there's a little side port here on the side that the charger would plug into. These are hub drive. All the electronics are in there. And then you also have a 7-speed bike if you just want to ride a bike. This bike and this bike are identical, but what a lot of customers are wanting to do is take the fenders off. So I did take the fenders off so you can kind of see it does add a little bit more sporty look to it without the fenders. What do you guys think, fenders or no fenders?
I get a little bit of rain, I'll take the fenders.
Yeah.
Fenders, yeah.
Rain
I don't
and
like
mud.
that line up my back.
So how many of you guys are riding in the rain in Arizona? Let me answer that. None of you are riding in the rain. The fenders come with them. The last 3 bikes that I sold, I just sold one yesterday. I sold this one yesterday. Well, it was the same bike, just same color. The last 3 bikes, customers like, hey, we'll take the fenders, we just want them off.
That's the way to go.
So you have it's a
I
pedal
just put
assist
the fender
and a
on.
throttle.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, so there's 5 levels of pedal assist,
Yeah,
and then
I
a
can get the
throttle.
line sometime when I
You
go
use
to a
the
mud
throttle
hole.
and you use a higher levels of pedal assist, level 3, 4, 5. That's where you really start draining the battery. If you were to ride on a flat paved trail with no wind, level 1 pedal assist where you're still working out, having a good workout, you can see upwards of 60 miles on a charge if it's flat. A lot of customers still want to have a workout. They still want to work out, but they just want that little extra if they're going up a big hill. And another option, another feature on this bike is a lock assist. So I'm just gonna click and hold this button, and the bike is gonna take off on itself. Catch it? So if you get up to a hill and you're in the wrong gear, you can actually press and hold, and the bike will lock itself. If you can keep up, make sure you stretch. If you guys want to come over here and you guys can just kind of walk around and I'll stand in front and you can really see this nice energy display. If you want to put your hand over there. On the right side is the number 1, that's your level of pedal assist. And then on the top right is that energy bar. It's kind of like your fuel bar to see how much life you have left in the battery. And then the headlight is controlled from there. You hit the plus button and hold it. The headlight comes on. There's a little diagram on that screen that shows you that your headlight is on. And then the brake feature, whenever you hit the brake, it does light up like a vehicle.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow.
That's pretty helpful, actually.
Very helpful. So the race in an e-bike place is the weight. So they have the standards of Bafang motors, Yamaha motors, different types of motors that are all great motors. Bosch motors are great motors, Yamahas are great motors, Bafangs are great motors. What I've noticed in some of the more rigid, heavier duty mount, like off-road, is when they put in 750 to 1,000 watt motors, it's the equivalent to putting a big engine into a small transmission. And we see a lot of, for the repairs that we do, we see a lot of bikes that come in where the drive shaft is completely stripped. So the pedals just spin because there's so much torque. They're heavy bikes, they're 60, 70, 80, 90 pounds. And so sometimes people want bigger motors, and bigger isn't better, especially for the average style of riding. But you know, like this blue bike down here, that one's gonna be a little bit more of maybe green level trails off the road in hard packed sand. The tires are a little bit wider, and then the frame is a little bit elongated, so you have a longer wheelbase, a little bit more comfortable.
How much do these bikes weigh approximately?
They're about 50.
About 50.
Yep.
Okay.
Take the battery out and you probably shave off 15 pounds. I did bring these two to show you guys as well. Not all racks are created equal for a lot of transport. Like this rack, if any of the guys or anybody wants to try to pick this up. These are Kuat, K-U-A-T, which is the brand that I carry. I love, I have a lake house in Lake of the Ozarks. These are manufactured in Springfield, Missouri. This is the Transfer. It's a smaller, lighter weight. You could put maybe one e-bike on here without the motor, without the battery on it. But a lot of times people think a $100 Walmart rack will suffice on their, you know, $23,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 investment. This rack is $750, and this rack is weighted for like 180 pounds for e-bikes. I can take this device off, and I have an extension for 4, and it's rated for 4 80-pound e-bikes, and you can stand on it. Another one too, if I didn't have my trailer on here, this little ball is controlled by this wheel here, and when you put it into the receiver and you tighten it down, the rack doesn't move. So when you're traveling across country or wherever, the rack isn't vibrating all over the place. And another big thing is what you're paying for in a high-end rack is no frame contact. So the rack does not touch the frame, it doesn't touch the paint. We get a lot of customers, including myself, that wrecked, you know, I had a $3,500 carbon mountain bike, and I bought a cheap rack from Walmart, and this was resting on the frame, and the frame was rattling. I drove from my lake house here, and by the time I got here, I had a huge wear through my clear coat into my paint, ruined my paint. So then I bought a nice rack where the front tire sits here, this locks the tire down, and then you strap these are movable, and then also all the Kuats have built-in security.
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
Oh, that's nice.
They come with keys. They also have a pin lock that locks this into it. And another safety thing is, do not think that this is going to save your bike from being stolen. This is designed if you run into the grocery store, if you go grab a bite to eat in a restaurant, do not leave your bike. Especially in Apache Junction, the crackheads and the homeless, they will wreck the rack, they will tear stuff apart, and then a professional bike thief will cut through that like butter. This is a good investment. I do have another one that's in the $630 price point that's a little bit shorter. But when you're transporting multiple e-bikes, having a heavy duty rack is almost essential.
What was the price of this?
These are $750. These are $450. This one would be more for a car. You have a smaller receiver. These are 2-inch receivers, and then my other one is a 2-inch receiver as well. Let's see, what else could I talk about? Tire pressure. Checking tire pressure should be as almost important as brushing your teeth. Bike shops would go bankrupt if people check their tire pressure. Investing in a good floor pump. And then I also have this new product. It is called an e-flater. It's super light, it's small. There's a LED headlight in there, and it's USB chargeable. And this can charge a phone. Also, this one you can set your tire pressure. If I say, hey, these tires should be ran at 65 pounds, and and you prefer a harder ride, or if you prefer a softer ride, if you're riding on a gravel trail, say you want to run it to 52.5 pounds, you change this digital to 52.5, plug it in the tire, and you hit go, and it auto inflates it, and it stops at 52.5 pounds.
What does that go for?
These are 120.
Cool.
But if you guys want to kind of take a peek at that.
Sure.
But check your air pressure. What happens if you run, let's say, just for conversation, this,
So
this
USB
tire is rated for 40 to
charges
65 pounds of
That's
air,
actually worth
and
that
you
price.
get on it, and there's 28 pounds. Even the weight of the bike and the weight of you, what happens is that tube is loose in there, and when the tire and the tube move, you snap the valve stem right off. So one of the things that we offer at the bike shop, and I don't know if you guys saw me changing that her road tire, pulled out a tiny little goat head. And the goat heads are everywhere. They're not just in the desert, they're on the road, they're on sidewalks, they're in RV parks, they're in 55 plus communities, they're everywhere. We call them the invisible devil. We do a flat proof system where we do a Kevlar liner between the tire and the tube. We do a thorn resistant tube, which is 10 times thicker rubber than a standard tube, and then we put 2 ounces of sealant inside that tire, so you get a three layers of protection on the inside. With that, it's about $45 investment per tire, and you're also getting a 1-year guarantee on puncture flats. The valve stem, which I just
That would pay
explained,
for
is
it.
not
I
covered
went
in
through 10 of them before.
that warranty. So the air pressure is, we respectfully say, negligence to check in air pressure.
What's a goat head?
Goat head is a tiny little thorn that you can't hardly see.
In fact, that's probably one that you pulled out.
I put it in over there.
How much power would you need, like, to just ride around here?
Power in a sense of like which.
Or, like, don't the bikes have different power levels?
Yep. So all these bikes have 5 levels of pedal assist, and when I start people, I'll start most of the females at level 1, and then once you're riding, you can switch into 2. Guys are a little bit more comfortable with that first initial kind of takeoff, and they start kicking in like 3 or 4 miles an hour.
But do
If
the
you're just-
less expensive bikes have less power
The motor.
available?
Yep, the 350 watts versus the 500. The 500 is they're almost not noticeable.
Okay.
If you get into a heavier bike, let's say that blue one versus the white one. That white one is our entry level at $17.99, and the blue one's $27. The blue one's a little bit heavier bike. It's made for a different purpose. That one you're going to feel a little bit different acceleration power. There's so many different rider preferences. I don't remember. I was talking to somebody else. Him and his wife left. They had some e-bikes back home, and they want to buy some bikes for me for here. And he said, I really like being in a harder gear, so harder to pedal, and a lower level pedal assist. Where his wife, and they have identical bikes, she wanted to be in a turbo mode and ride in an easier gear to pedal. And they both use the same battery life. So there's so many differences of that as well.
What about the batteries for snowbirds that maybe leave their bikes for 6 months?
We say put them inside, not inside a shed. Try to put them in the coolest part of the home, and just get them off the ground a little bit.
So the batteries do come out of the bikes,
yes.
and you can take them out.
Yep.
What I find when I ride is I shift a lot between my deals. So I'll ride in eco mode, which is number 1 evidently, you know. And then when I hit a hill, I'll hit turbo because I want to make it up the hill.
Yep.
And then go back down, you know, just because.
Yep.
We
So
have a brother in California that bought some bikes from Costco, and there's so many hills where they are. He said the bikes just couldn't keep up, even in their highest gear. So he had to go buy
Bike shop
new
quality.
bikes that had more power. So that's kind of where I was going with my question.
Yep, good question. I appreciate that. Buying a bike shop quality bike versus a Costco bike, and I did see some electric bikes. Everybody has a price point, and everybody has what's called a perception of value. I went to school for marketing, and even clothes and shoes, you find a value, a perception of value, and everybody's different. I have a perception of value in a vehicle where I get 3 vehicles in it. I get a sports car, I get a truck, and I get a Jeep, all in one truck. I find value in it. Somebody be like, I'm fine with a Honda Civic. So finding and having somebody create value and educate on a value versus just sell and push sales, where like I see electric bikes over there. I think those are about $1,000-ish, and I know there's different levels. I've had a lot of customers come in unhappy with customer service. They feel fine on the bikes, but they lack customer service. So when you get a bike shop quality bike at a bike shop, and you frequent that bike shop, number one, the cost of good customer service is of value, especially when you have to deal with something that isn't so pleasant, or trying to find a part, or not be able to talk to a human being on the phone. Where you can come in the store and you can look me in the face and you say, hey, this is what the deal is with my bike. I can get on it, I can ride it, and I can have it fixed usually within a couple days. I can call my manufacturer, I can get parts right away, I can see it, I know what it is. You don't have to try to explain something on the phone. So a lot of times people find value in that. A lot of times on lesser expensive bikes, parts are bent. The parts are a lot cheaper. Their assembly is not by anybody qualified, and a lot of times when the direct to consumer, you have to assemble it yourself or take it to a bike shop and pay us to do it, and we see that a ton as well. And we have a price for that because it takes time. So when we go through a bike, you want to make sure that this derailleur is set on the stops. So when you're shifting into the highest gear, that it doesn't go into your spokes. That could break spokes, bend the tire, and it could throw you flying off and eat a rock in your face. When you get down on the bottom as well, and then we want to make sure that the tension is set properly in the brakes as well, so you're getting proper use of your brakes. Where a lot of those are just assembled and nobody qualified is looking at them, which is why you get a lesser quality bike. They don't have a big overhead like other retail stores do. Lesser quality batteries, lesser quality motors. So sometimes cheap isn't more. Most of the time it isn't.
Justin, do you take trade-ins? Like you said, the couple that came down from someplace and had their bikes. Like if they wanted to upgrade to something else.
If it's a bike shop quality bike and it's 2018 or newer, I do a wholesale trade buy-in. Yep. If it's something that I know would sell at my store. Anybody have any questions for me before we start riding?
What is a good lock then that you feel safe leaving it to go in somewhere?
A good chain or a
You're gonna ride
cable
his
lock.
bikes?
I think so.
One lock that locks the frame to the tire, and it also has a cable lock you can lock it to something else. So what you want to do with security is think like a thief and make it really, really inconvenient for somebody to want to grab your bike. Because with the internet, with cell phones, if we stop at Perkins and I see 2 of these bikes on your SUV on the rack, and I go on Google, Wolf Vela. Oh, $2,300. There's $6,000 worth of bikes right there. I'm gonna go to Home Depot right across the street and buy a lock cutter, a bolt cutter, and I could have those bikes in 30 seconds. So a professional thief, but when you start thinking, it's common sense. It's not common practice. Where we don't think like that. We don't think like a thief because we're human beings, we're halfway decent human beings. But when you start thinking like a thief to protect your stuff, what would a thief do for that? So if you have a tiny little cable lock on there and a really inexpensive rack, that if I really wanted to come over and I put my foot here and I yanked on this as hard as I could, likely it's going to start coming loose. And if I gave it 3 or 4 tugs and then I grabbed my buddy here and I said, hey, grab this side of it. So we've seen that all the time too. So think like a thief and make it really inconvenient. Cover your bikes, buy a bike cover. We have some of those as well. We have a lot of customers that come in from the RV parks, and thieves are coming over the wall through security in their sheds that are locked and stealing their stuff. So when you start thinking like a thief instead of a good human being, that's when you're like, oh, well, crap, I left my bike on my rack and I went into Sprouts for 20 minutes to do my grocery shopping. So start thinking like a thief. Cover your bike. With a bike cover, number one, it'll save your tires, especially here. Save your seat. It'll save your grips. I sell a ton of grips because they just literally melt off if you leave them in your in a sauna of a shed at your community or home or wherever.
Do you offer any senior discounts or any other discounts to the communities? Or?
Yep. So kind of like when I do these demo days, buying a bike here, I give $150 off. If I'd like to sell to a group, if I do a group sale of 8 or more bikes, we can work a little bit more there too. On new bikes, we put on any additional accessories at no charge, and then on the flat proofing, we don't charge labor.
Okay.
So if some people really rack up, like when we put this is a toe peak rack. These are universal. I have one on this bike right here. So the rack is 60. This is 150. You can put all of your cocktails in it. You can put a 6-pack in here.
Ah, now you're talking.
And I know none of you guys drink and ride. But to put this on, these come with saddlebags, built-in saddlebags.
Wow.
That's a nice design.
Yep. And so a lot of people are like, oh, $150 for that? And then they see it, they're like, oh, I have saddlebags in there. It's sleek, it's lightweight. You can take it off if you guys are, I know a lot of different communities go on longer rides. It's a lunchbox. You can, you know, there's a lot of different options. And this one specifically is built for this rack, Topeak rack. And I do have a whole bunch of, this one we sell the most of. They have smaller ones and they have a couple that are just a little bit bigger.
What does the rack go for?
60.
60. Okay.
Yep. So that's kind of what we do for new bike sales. We don't charge labor on the flat proofing, and we don't charge any component installation for when we add on accessories.
Cool.
So I think what I'm gonna tell them on the video that I posted out, I'm gonna tell them if they do come into the shop and have seen it here to say Gold Canyon Strong.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Can I ask you one more question? I'm a little confused. Your entry-level bike to this green one here, what's the difference?
That one is a 350 watt motor, and the battery is built into the rack, so it does feel a little bit heavier on that back end.
Okay.
And then you don't have the adjustable stem and or the same display.
But it's the same 350?
Correct.
Okay. And then you had the 500 just in the
Just in this non-step proof.
okay, and the
Yep.
blue one.
And the blue one, correct.
Okay.
Is there anybody that's going to be more off, maybe on a green trail, or is everybody going to be on pavement?
Any green trail.
Like any sort of desert-ish trail, hardpack gravel, canal.
I do all the time, but yeah.
You might fit that blue bike a little bit better. That might be a little bit more your style. Hey, who wants to ride? Everybody? Okay. Any color preference? Tiffany blue?
You're gonna dress it and see.
Red?
I'll show it.
Where are we going?
Anywhere in the parking lot?
Oh, okay, just. Oh,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh, I better get out of the way.
Put on your brake. No, I'm just kidding.